Before we get to that interview, though, folks, I do need to tell you about today's sponsor, which is BetOnline. We're back and better than ever. All eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back on for another football season. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all of your pro and college football action this year. With a new and updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline continues to be the number one source for everything football. Head to their website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use promo code BELIEVE to receive your bonus. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all of the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Welcome to the Believe in NFL Draft Prospect podcast. This is Ryan Roberts, Rise and Draft on Twitter, bringing you an inside look to some of the best college football players across the nation, regardless of classification, regardless of level of competition. We are bringing you the next wave of the best football players that are going to take their game, not only the All-American status and All-Conference status and all those great things on the college level, but also eventually to the NFL. And I have a young man who I think, just kind of the brief glimpses I've gotten of him so far at right tackle for Ohio State, got Dawand Jones. And I think that he has a legitimate chance not only to dominate the level that he has, early on in the season and continue to get better, but also eventually take that game to the next level. So Dawand Jones is joining me the show now. Dawand, appreciate you coming on, man. How's everything going?
I'm doing good. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here, man. That's all I can say, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I'm really excited, especially during the season. Obviously you're going to class and doing everything, just got out of practice. So it's busy times to say the least after, just game 2 here finished up. So Dawand, I want to kind of run this a little bit of a journey. I kind of told you before we started, I fell into a little bit of a rabbit hole, looking at high school basketball highlights of you at Ben Davis and doing all that type of stuff there in Indianapolis. So let's start there for a second. I know obviously you were a dominant football player on the high school level. You were a dominant basketball player. Talk to me just a little bit about your high school career, and if you could go just a little bit into the recruiting process and why ultimately the Buckeyes were the best spot.
I would say just honestly, I played basketball my whole career, my whole life majority, and stuff like that. So like that stuff really just transferred over to football, which helped me out. But I really didn't have that many offers. I was a 3-star coming out of high school. I didn't get my first offer until after my high school season, which is not normal for normally offensive linemen, at least, not to get any offers till after the season. Normally they come before. But I got that from Mississippi State, and then I just looked at my options out, just like let's find the best place that'll develop me and get me right for the NFL. And I think Ohio State for sure has that all around, like the tools for you to get there. And after just seeing all the other players take those steps and reach that same level, especially after seeing it happen too. So that's honestly the major reason.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I'm very curious, Dawand, if you could let me in for a second, because I'm looking, obviously the dual sport backgrounds, and we're talking 6'8", 360 pounds. Like obviously you have tremendous size for the position. You're up there with guys like Mekhi Becton as far as like the physical profile. So why do you think that the under-recruited aspect was on the football side? Do you feel like you were a little raw in high school, or maybe you're more of a basketball player originally? Like what led to maybe being a little under-recruited?
I would say just people probably thought I was just all basketball and just wasn't balled in all the way to football. And I just don't think that coaches and universities understood that like either way, if I don't love or like the sport, like I still want to do this sport, and of course learn to love it and stuff like that, just like other people that learn to love the sport. And so of course that's always not always number one, coming from like the Hoosier State. Yep. It's always been basketball first. And so but to me it was just a bigger opportunity. It's more rare to be 6'8", 360 in football rather than it is to be 6'8", 360 in basketball. It's pretty common, and to be a 6'8" center.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. You're completely right about that. And I know obviously Ohio State has had proud tradition at the offensive tackle position, offensive line in general, looking back to guys like Orlando Pace and Taylor Decker. And You got a couple of great offensive tackles that are already on the team. You know, we talked a little bit before we started about Tyler Munford, obviously moving inside the guard. Nicholas Petit-Frere is obviously a, you know, former 5-star recruit, might be a first-round pick when all is said and done. Talk to me a little bit about this offensive line group that you guys have in Ohio State in general, man. And it's got to be very beneficial for you, obviously being a junior now, to be able to learn behind those guys, especially Thayer, obviously being a little bit of an older guy, and just, you know, continue in this tradition of great offensive tackle play in general.
Yeah, it's just not only been Thayer helping me out. It's also been Brandon Bowen, the guys that was there before.
Mm-hmm.
So even Jonah, like, just will help out with technique. It doesn't even matter why anybody. Those guys led us and taught us the way. It was only for just us stepping in their spots and filling their shoes, honestly. And I think we're just a strong unit, honestly, just being around each other every day. We laugh, we joke, we play, but most of us are just best friends outside of football, honestly. And I think we probably got one of the closest bonds on the team, and probably the closest bond as a unit.
Yeah. And I know I interviewed Josh Myers before the draft last year, and that was one thing that he kind of reiterated, was like, he talked about Jonah, he talked about obviously Wyatt and all the guys, and just kind of the close-knit relationship you have. And I know that you guys get the opportunity, which I think is very uncommon, obviously, to play against the players that you play against every single day in practice. Because, I mean, we were talking about the best defensive ends to come out of college football in recent years. We're talking about the Bosas. We're talking about Chase Young. We're going to be talking about Zach Harrison next year. Like, there's so many dudes, Tyreek Smith, like there's so many guys on a year-to-year basis coming out on the defensive side of the ball. How beneficial has that been for you to be able to play against some of those guys and to be able to be tested against some of the best edge rushers in all of college football?
I think it's an advantage, honestly, just going against those guys every day. This repetition against the best. That's how I look at it. Like, I think Ohio State is the best in the world, honestly. So, like, thinking Tyreek and, of course, seeing Chase and all these other guys go first round, like you already know these other guys are going to go first round. So why not go get better that day against the first round draft pick if you want to be there one day, hopefully. So that's how I look at it for me.
And then, Dawand, I want to ask you about, obviously, I mentioned the move, you know, a Munford moving inside. And obviously a lot of people were at first like, wow, like a, you know, multi-year starter left tackles moving inside to make way for Dawand Jones. And talk to me a little bit about just this past offseason with competition. And obviously you forced the issue and you made it very apparent that you were too good to leave off the field.
Yeah, I just made my mind up and just said I just need to go get it done, especially this year being my third year. You know, most people want to go ahead and get it out after. I mean, but still, I just want to get on the field, man. Just coming from always playing and always starting as a kid until now, like I've never been not on the field or court. So like for me not to be on the field just didn't feel right. And I know like what I would do in practice, and like just sometimes I would just sit on the field and I just be like, I know I could do that. Like, so it was just more so I had to put my mind to it. And besides football, I had to put my mind to it, like being on time, just being accountable and stuff like that. And honestly, I just had to just do it. And that's what I did, man, this offseason, I feel like.
Yeah, and talk to me a little bit about it, because Dawand, I mean, last year, you guys obviously had, you know, the playoff run into the national championship and a lot of big accomplishments in a very strange season, right? With Big Ten, you know, originally canceling due to COVID-19 and coming back. Talk to me a little bit about just this offseason in that respect. Like, you're back to a normal season. It had to be great to just know, like, leave COVID behind us. We did some good things, but like to be able to see a more normal season in front of you had to be refreshing, I would think, for you and the rest of the team.
Yeah, I would say so. It just kind of was definitely like weird. We just wasn't in groove, I would say, almost sometimes. But it was kind of cool. Like sometimes we would do these one-day padded practices because like our numbers weren't so strong. Kind of just reminded, like, they tell us about how the NFL was, but I kind of say our bodies are a little bit better than they do now because, you know, we're getting prepared for a full 15 game or how many games we play season.
For sure. So, yeah, no, man, I know. And I've been impressed because I was expecting, you know, obviously you lost a lot of players, you know, and I know Justin Fields is obviously the guy that everyone's going to talk about. I'm talking about obviously on the offensive side of the ball. We lose Fields, Trey Sermon. You have obviously a bunch of great players coming back, Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, and I know CJ is a very talented quarterback, kind of moving towards obviously getting like heavy into the season here. How good do you think this offense could be? Because I think we've already seen it in spurts, like even in the loss to Oregon, like you put up a ton of points and a ton of yards. How good do you think that this offense can be despite losing some key players from last season?
I think we could be great, man. I think we could be one of the best offensive lines in the country. Mm-hmm. Shouts out to Oregon. They played a strong game. I don't think people give them enough credit. Sure. But I think they played a solid game. But I think our offensive line is looking pretty solid. We're just blocking up front for a long time because, these guys are taking shots for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know it's only going to get better, obviously, and being able to see the progression that you're going to have is something that I'm excited about. And I kind of want to really focus on you, obviously, because I think that you are one of the next wave of obviously not only the best offensive tackles Ohio State's going to produce, but I think, you have the ability and the talent level to be one of the better ones in the nation when it's all said and done. And eventually, NFL aspirations, I'm sure, are there. So I wanted to kind of hone in on you a little bit. I want to ask you about, are there some players? I know you were a basketball guy too, so I'm sure there was a lot of, basketball players that you looked up to, but are there some football players? It could be past, present, growing up, or if you even want to throw some basketball players in, you can too. Are there some athletes, I guess, in general that you like to watch a bunch that you would say that you try to emulate to a degree as an athlete?
I would say like past. I watch his Jonathan Ogden. I like his game. I used to because it's more old school and he's a bigger guy just like me. Also Orlando Pace. I'm trying to think. I don't really try to watch the older guys because their technique isn't how it is today. But right now, I watch Lane Johnson because he plays right tackle and he's probably one of the best in the league to me at right tackle. I like watching Trent Williams. Trent Williams has good technique. And Bakhtiari, those are some go-to guys I like watching. And then Trent Brown for the Patriots.
For sure, yeah, those are some of the best, obviously, in the business. And I'm curious about your goals as a player. Obviously, your first year as a full-time starter, and you are, off to a good start, in my opinion, just kind of honing in on you on film. For you, the rest of the season, what are some goals that you have individually as far as things you want to improve on, things you want to, goals that you set and that you want to accomplish? What are some things individually that would make it a good season for you?
I would just say just always what they always been: technique sound, beat Team of North, win the Big Ten, win the national championship, and just let the accolades come afterwards, man. That's my only mission. That's my only dream I want right now.
I love it, man. And I'm guess kind of the last question I wanted to ask you is, obviously I'm a guy that thinks, maybe it could be after this season, maybe it's 2 years from now, but whenever it is, I think that you're a guy that has obviously the athletic skill set with the size, everything molded into one player that I think that you're going to be highly coveted at the next level when you eventually do make that jump. So just kind of looking forward to a second. Again, don't know exactly when it's going to happen. When you do ultimately make that decision to take your game to the next level, one, how much of a blessing will it be just to, be able to chase that dream? And two, how long has that been a dream just to be a professional athlete?
I would say it definitely would be a blessing, but I never try to look ahead or anything and just let things play out for itself. But I would say that's my life goal, especially with it being, of course, it used to be in the NBA, but of course the NFL now. But that's still was my ultimate goal, was make it to the professional level. And everybody get to see me play on national television in the NFL. There's just no regular thing or no ordinary thing where I'm from. So it would just be an honor, honestly.
Love it, man. Well, I appreciate, again, all the time that you gave me. Again, joined by Dawand Jones, starting right tackle for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Dawand, appreciate this, man. Again, during the season with all the craziness attached, brother, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes here. I'm wishing you the best of luck, but first and foremost, really appreciate all the time today.
No, thank you.